Welcome to InvestSmart with Steadily. Today we're diving into one of the biggest challenges for real estate investors, finding the right property at the right price. So whether you're doing a BRRRR or a fix and flip, or you just need more deals that make financial sense in this market, no one knows that better than today's guest, Kurt Byers from New Western, which is the largest marketplace for investment properties. So Kurt, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little about how New Western helps real estate investors.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So I'm the head of business development here at New Western. We're a national real estate investment marketplace. We're the largest private source for those investment properties in the country. So we really help investors find what fits in their buy box, whether that is going to be a BRRRR or it's going to be a fix and flip. And we're, largely single family residential. We do some others just in case there's, or if there is investor interest, but that's kind of our bread and butter, and we've been doing it since 2008, and we're doing a transaction every 13 minutes. So,
Wow.
always have the properties available, and our investors always have some good opportunities there.
So that's absolutely one of the biggest pain points, if not the biggest pain point for every single real estate investor is just finding good deals. And so I'm really curious, how do you guys find off market properties every day? Kind of what's that secret? Where are these deals hiding?
So we're finding them a little bit of everywhere. We do, our own kind of proprietary marketing. We have thousands of relationships with wholesalers and real estate agents to where we'll basically, automate their disposition process for them. Because we have over 200,000 investors in our marketplace, we have such a good sales team that wholesalers and real estate agents will come to us to connect them essentially with the right buyer. So we get a lot of inventory from your traditional real estate agent that is coming across a property that would be terrible to list because it's, it needs work and no one on the MLS wants to buy it. But we have investors that do want to buy that kind of thing. And so we get a lot of our properties through partnerships and relationships.
That makes sense. So I think a question that a lot of investors are thinking about right now is just, there's higher interest rates. It's a tougher lending environment right now. Things are shifting. People are sort of like not sure exactly what to do, maybe pressing pause. So what is your take, or what's New Western's take? What have you guys seen just from a deal, a deal flow situation? Are more properties being listed? Should investors, wait it out right now? What's kind of your perspective?
So, for us on the investment side, February was one of our largest months ever. So we're definitely seeing a lot of inventory of the type of stuff that might not be a good fit on the MLS. And some of that's because if you're bringing a, turnkey property to the market, there's still interest in that, but you're not really capitalizing on the opportunity to get that equity or to kind of find opportunities that, all the other MLS buyers aren't finding. And so as far as like finding the inventory or the supply side, supply is definitely down overall just from a market standpoint. But I think on the investment side, there's a real opportunity to find the houses that typically wouldn't make it to market because, there's people out there that are looking for those types of properties, kind of like what we do on a national scale. And so I think that the supply for investors is good right now, but it's just not really a big opportunity for your kind of first time home buyer right now.
Yeah. So most of the properties, kind of, if you can kind of speak to, how, most of the properties are they're distressed. What's kind of the condition, or what's the scenario why somebody would be selling their property through New Western?
Yeah, so distress can be either financial or physical. The most of what we see is physical. Um, sometimes that means it needs $25,000 and you kind of add a little lipstick to it and it's fine. And sometimes it needs, $120,000 and every single major system is broken, needs foundation, needs roof, needs paint, needs a kitchen. And so we kind of have a vast spread of what the types of properties we see, but really just a lot of it boils down to there's some sort of situation that will give an investor an opportunity to buy it with equity and upside, whether that's physical repairs or some lipstick and then they put it back on the market, or it's a great addition to the rental portfolio because it has that upfront equity. It makes the cash flow aspect a little easier, just knowing that you can have that long term appreciation with the equity versus instant cash flow.
That makes sense. And then do you have like a story you want to share? I know, I am personally a New Western customer. And I purchased a property that there was a ton of upside opportunity. And so I don't know if that's a unique situation, if you guys have like an average or just a good anecdotal situation that you could kind of speak to that talks about, what are some of those numbers that you would see from a property? Because there is on some of them, there's just a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the market because every kind of after repair value percentage is a little different. Like in LA, it's going to be different than Birmingham or Indiana. But it's mainly like, I guess, anecdotal would kind of just be like you take your kind of average corporate worker who probably has the skills in the system, or not the system yet, the skills to be able to manage a flip. And then they either, like Airbnb or rent or whatever. But they don't really have the time. And so essentially, you're taking the person who on the side just kind of wants to create some financial wealth through a rental or an Airbnb. And there's no time or money involved to find a property from New Western. So you essentially find the property, comes to your inbox or on our marketplace. You flip either on the weekends. My wife and I have done live and flips. So we basically every 2 years have lived after we flipped it. But you hire out a trusted investor type contractor, and depending on the house, some margins are a little tighter based on the market, but there's always the margin enough to fix it and either flip it, or if you want to go, the long term route, you have higher rates now, but as you can refinance that just boosts your cash flow later. But I mean, there's people making, fifty to $75,000 a flip, and they're doing that 3 times a month. Or there's people that are doing one rental a year. It's just a vast difference of experience, how much time they're spending on it. But there's a lot of money to be made doing it. You just have to kind of plan ahead for sure.
Yeah, and talk me through the process because I think you hit on something that's super important as far as investors who want to get in the game but really don't know like how to find a deal or where to start, and they don't want to pay retail on MLS. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits of New Western, honestly, is that somebody does the really hard, sticky part for you
Yeah.
in finding the deal and negotiating it and kind of serving it up to you. So, tell us a little more about that, about how that goes usually.
Yeah, because I mean, traditionally, you would have to spend, you know, quite a bit of money on, either direct mail or pay per click or pay per lead, and then hope that those convert. And you might not have the system in place with a lead manager or a follow up system. Luckily for us, we have 600 plus agents who are all local to their markets that know the markets and everything. But unless you're able to really go out and find the right deal, you're such a disadvantage trying to just be on the MLS because that is going to get you that highest price. And if you're buying it at the highest price and trying to do something with it, the margin there is just so small. But if you want to go out and do your own marketing and all that, some people really enjoy that aspect. But for me, it's like sign up with someone like New Western, tell me what your buy box is, and I'll just send you properties. And so there's not a ton of upfront work really at all, other than just having a conversation with us. But to do it on your own, it just can be really cumbersome.
Yeah, I completely agree. And definitely, I think for more of a corporate employee who wants to get in, I think it's a really good option to consider for sure. So, but a lot of investors, myself included, love a good BRRRR.
Yeah.
So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. But refinancing is a little tougher lately. So I'm curious, just are you seeing more people just flip recently, or are people still doing BRRRRs? And then I know you guys have like kind of financing and financing arm essentially that helps kind of support some of that stuff. So I am curious just your perspective on flipping versus like buy and hold, and then how we can finance it to get it refinanced basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of it is what your goal is. I mean, yeah, if the rates are a little higher right now, like you still have the opportunity to buy at a discount, rehab it, and rent it out. You might not cash flow the same way you would when interest rates were at 2%, but you're still getting long term appreciation. You're still getting the tax savings. You're still getting all that aspect of it. You're just maybe not cash flowing immediately the way you used to. but you're still adding to a long-term rental portfolio to where that's, can be generational wealth. Obviously, flipping, you have the opportunity to make a ton of money, but you have to manage that, and whether that's in more flips or other investment strategies. But I mean, either way, we still have a lot of people doing both. Some of it is market dependent. You're going to be able to burr a little easier in some of your more Midwestern markets that are kind of hot right now. But if your goal is to basically replace your current income and go full time, like fixing and flipping is obviously a very good strategy. There's a lot of people that just do both depending on the deal. They know it's a good deal, but it's like, do I want to manage this one long term, or do I just want to fix and flip and make 50,000 and get out of there? So it really kind of depends on what your long term goals are, and how much you want to manage it on the side.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. And then I know with New Western, it's cash or hard money essentially. Traditional loans aren't really used because you have to
Yeah.
close very, very quickly. So talk to me a little bit about those requirements and then just how New Western kind of helps people get the money they need essentially to buy these properties.
Yeah, that was the other point of your question I didn't touch on. Yeah, to buy properties from us or most kind of investment properties like this, you'll need to use either hard money or private money. And that really just allows you to basically get, a 3, 6, 9, or 12-month loan, depending on how long that'll take. And that really is for that upfront uh, kind of fix and flip portion, whether you burr or not. You will need to get that initial loan because we close a lot of our properties, as soon as title's clear, and that could be 7 days. And a lot of the lenders in our Sherman Bridge marketplace, which is basically hard money and private money lenders throughout the country, where New Western investors can kind of get access to, where we'll help you underwrite it and then send it off to that lender. And so, because it kind of has requirements as far as how much will rehab be, what are your plans with it, there's a little thinking up front, whereas cash you can just pay and then decide what to do. But I mean, if as long as you're prepared and ready to know what you're going to do with the property, hard money or private money is a huge benefit because you can, instead of cash, you can do 5 properties at once with hard money instead of all cash. And then, it's a little bit higher rate, but you're paying it back in, 3 or 6 months. So your holding costs are a lot lower. And if you're going to burr it, you're going to have to refinance, which, as you alluded to, the rates are higher on the, traditional kind of side, but there are a lot of different bridge loan options that people are doing. And then obviously when rates go down, probably won't be 2% in our lifetime, but you can refinance that one again. So.
That makes a ton of sense. And I know with the financing, if you're using a hard money loan, you've got to have insurance. That's kind of
Mhm.
part of the closing process. So I know that's where Steadily and New Western is forming a partnership and help each other kind of get those closings done a little bit quicker. But what's your take on insurance? Like, what do you think investors should, I guess, know about that kind of final step, getting to the finish line? I know speed is very important, but do you have any perspective on just insuring properties, insuring fix and flips, those types of things?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those, especially if you're going hard money, that it's going to be required. So, like as we've talked about in our kind of partnership meetings, it's like, let's just be prepared and have it up front. You're going to get a good quote, you're going to have it ready, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, if something happens during your, builder's risk portion of that or the landlord portion of that, like you really do need to be covered. It's a ton of money to lose out on. And so it's just, to me, a no-brainer to get the insurance aspect, builder's risk, and then landlord insurance. So, I mean, for us, it's just, we basically, just get it. Like it's a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
I know. I think a lot of people don't understand or don't know, maybe because they're buying a property in such bad condition that
Yeah.
they're thinking, well, I don't really need to insure this because it's already in really bad condition. But it's something that we see on the insurance side, and why you should have a builder's risk is you're buying a ton of
Yeah.
materials, and you're going to have
Yeah.
things at that job site that cost money, and if they are stolen or burned down or any number of things,
Yeah.
it's going to be very detrimental to the project. I think fires and theft, and
Yeah.
vandalism are very, very high with any type of property under construction. So it's something that unfortunately does happen, and we try to really educate people and encourage people to get that builder's risk
Yeah.
policy, because it's A,
Oh
necessary
yeah.
if you're trying to lend on the property, and then B, just it's going to protect you in those situations. So
Yeah, and I think
um,
some people just assume it's like homeowners insurance.
right.
It's like, yeah, you own the home for that short period of time, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong before you even live in it. So
Yep.
it's definitely worth getting.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add? Just tips for investors kind of in this market that you've seen, things that are working well for New Western investors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just understanding your exit strategies and what you want to do up front and being very um, kind of like vocal and prepared with your buy box for who you're working with. Because, if you need a specific thing in the right neighborhood, like we can go out and try and find that. But if you don't know that or come to us with what you're looking to do, it's a lot harder for us to kind of maximize our relationship just because you'll be seeing a lot of properties, but if that's not what you want to see and we could go out and find that for you, then that's just it makes a world of a difference. So really just being prepared in what you want. If you want a BRRRR that might end up being a short-term rental, so you need a bigger backyard to maybe add something exciting, or you need something like that, just be very upfront about it and have your plan with it. That way our agent can help you, or whoever you're working with can kind of maximize your time. And then you just know saying yes is a lot easier because you're not having to evaluate a ton of things. You're just, exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And it's honestly such a relief, I think, to a real estate investor who does have a very specific buy box, but doesn't necessarily have the time to go knock on doors or send mailers. Because I think we all know those areas, especially for short term rentals, those areas you might want
Yeah.
to be in. Maybe long term, you want to make that a second home. Eventually you retire there. And if you like, I love that you have a whole team of people that can go out and find an actual deal for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That helps for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kurt, for joining us. Where can investors kind of learn more about New Western, get signed up for property deals? Kind of what's that next best step to engage?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best and easiest way is to go to newwestern.com and visit our marketplace to sign up. You can also reach out directly to an agent and they'll get you started with the process. But yeah, newwestern.com, LinkedIn, whichever way. We're always happy to onboard new investors and kind of help you build your portfolio.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks.